Starbucks sells coffee, but it has also convinced tens of millions of people to give it money before they buy anything. And that second part of the business is far more interesting than it sounds. Right now, Starbucks is sitting on roughly $1.7 billion connected to prepaid customer balances and unredeemed loyalty rewards. That is money customers have already handed over, money that earns them zero interest, and that money in most cases is going to be spent at Starbucks. Legally, Starbucks is obviously not a bank, but economically, part of its business operates in a surprisingly bank-like way. And once you understand how the system works, the Starbucks app starts looking a little different. The basic transaction is simple. You load $50 onto your Starbucks card. That $50 immediately leaves your bank account, but Starbucks hasn't sold you $50 worth of coffee yet. From an accounting perspective, Starbucks can't recognize the entire amount as revenue. Instead, it records an obligation to you known as deferred revenue. You now essentially prepaid for coffee that you might buy tomorrow, next week, or 6 months from now. The important part is that Starbucks receives the cash before it provides you the product. That is extremely valuable. As of June 28, 2026, Starbucks reported approximately $1.744 billion in deferred revenue related to store value cards and its loyalty rewards program. To be precise, that figure isn't entirely gift card cash. It also includes the accounting value of unredeemed Starbucks value stars. But it gives us an idea of how large its prepaid ecosystem has become. The amount of money flowing through the system is far more impressive. During Starbucks' third financial quarter of 2026 alone, customers in the United States loaded approximately $3.115 billion onto Starbucks cards. That's more than $3 billion in just 3 months. During the same quarter, Starbucks cards were used 42% of the times in the US. This is not some tiny business attached to Starbucks. The prepaid system is deeply integrated into the way customers buy coffee. Starbucks has also made the entire process incredibly convenient. You can load money into the app, set up automatic reloads, order before you arrive, earn stars, receive personal offers, and then the process repeats. The result is a closed economic loop that keeps customers coming back. By June 2026, Starbucks Rewards had 35.8 million active users in the United States. Based on customers who had been active within the previous 90 days, those reward members accounted for 59% of the money spent in Starbucks stores in the United States. The loyalty program has become so important that Starbucks redesigned it again in 2026. And part of that redesign is especially interesting. Customers don't actually have to preload money to earn rewards. They can pay using cash, debit cards, credit cards, and selected mobile wallets. So Starbucks isn't forcing customers to hand over their money early. Instead, it gives them an incentive to do it voluntarily. Under the redesigned rewards program, customers can receive bonus stars for digitally reloading their Starbucks cards. Reload $30 or more and you can receive additional stars. Reload $50 or more and you can receive even more stars. Starbucks is essentially giving customers a small reward for moving money out of their own bank accounts and into Starbucks ecosystem before they've actually bought anything. Since that money has been loaded, the economics become particularly interesting. Starbucks' own US card terms state that the value generally cannot be redeemed for cash unless required by law. The balance is not insured by the FDIC and most importantly, does not earn interest. Think about the difference. If you keep $50 in a savings account, the bank owes you $50 and may pay you interest for holding your money. If you load that same $50 onto a Starbucks card, Starbucks effectively owes you $50 worth of future product. You don't receive any interest, while Starbucks receives your cash immediately. This is why Starbucks stored value balances are sometimes compared to an interest-free loan from its customers. Technically, they aren't loans. Starbucks records the balances as deferred revenue. Economically, however, there is a similar advantage. Starbucks receives cash today and only has to provide the product later. In the meantime, that cash becomes part of the company's broader financial resources and reduces the need to obtain the same amount of funding elsewhere. But there is another part of this system that is far more profitable. Some of the money loaded onto Starbucks cards is never spent at all. In accounting terms, this is known as breakage. People lose gift cards, forget about small balances, stop visiting Starbucks stores, or simply leave a few dollars sitting inside an old account. A balance of $2 might seem meaningless to one person, but when you multiply balances across millions of customers, they become serious money. Starbucks uses historical customer behavior to estimate how much stored value is unlikely to ever be redeemed. Subject to accounting rules and unclaimed property laws, Starbucks can generally recognize qualifying amounts as revenue. In fiscal year 2025, Starbucks received $200 million in breakage revenue through its company-operated stores. Another $22 million came through licensed stores. Combined, that's approximately $222 million in revenue associated with stored value that customers were not expected to redeem. If you give a bank $10 and later withdraw it, returning your money costs the bank $10. If you give Starbucks $10, Starbucks doesn't eventually have to hand you $10 in cash. It generally has to provide $10 worth of coffee, food, or another product. And the actual cost to Starbucks is lower than the retail price they're paying. That makes prepaid balances an extremely attractive form of customer funding. Starbucks doesn't just want to sell you coffee, it wants you to hand over the money for your next coffee before you've even decided to buy it. And once that money is already sitting inside the Starbucks system, selling you the next cup becomes a whole lot easier.